The next top story is the only thing Bitcoin is good at is breaking the law. What? Scoresby, October 23rd, Bitcoin territory, 33 comments, 4,942 cents. Keyan, what the hell is Scoresby talking about?
Yeah, it looks like he's reading Voskuil's book, Crypto Economics again. And I think, and then he was also listening to Bitcoin Uncensored, which was a podcast from Bitcoin's heyday that I've heard several OGs mention before. Um, and he saw them connect and he wrote about it.
Mm.
Uh, but on Bitcoin Uncensored, they said, he quotes here, people will iterate Bitcoin up to the point it provides regulatory arbitrage and no further. And I thought that was a great point, or just well said, because basically what it's saying is if the laws are favorable to Bitcoin, no one is going to invent a way around them. And instead, it'll just kind of stay in the state that it is. But then if there's a regulation imposed on Bitcoin, people will then create a technological solution to get around it, and that's um, kind of what we see happening. And then Bitcoin itself, of course, is one of these, like the first phenomena. I think about it more in terms of what's built on Bitcoin, but also, I think their point is more so Bitcoin itself was built to avoid onerous banking regulation stuff, quote unquote, breaking the law, or at least right now, Bitcoin is not itself breaking the law. It seems to have evaded the law fully. Uh, yeah, and so he writes about that and how that is where Bitcoin's value is derived from, um, is allowing people to not have to rely on any particular jurisdiction's laws to access money and store their wealth, and how that is what underpins Bitcoin's value. Um,
I think it's very interesting. There's this this is separate from what Scoresby's bringing up, but I think it's interesting right now. There's just this kind of like I don't know, just like a distortion field in the greater world where you have like Tucker Carlson calling out Bitcoin right now. You have even people just abnormally like bearish on Bitcoin and its possibilities of what it can do for humanity. And I often wonder what is going on in the ripples, like what is going on in the in the zeitgeist to cause that. It's just interesting that people, even we're going to get to the Peter Thiel thing later, but I do think a lot of people are just misinformed about this technology. And I was attending a talk earlier this week, and there was one really interesting thing that somebody said, and these are like the smartest people talking about this stuff, right? Or at least in Austin talking about this stuff. And they're like, far more why is AI different than Web3 in 21 was like one of the questions from the crowd. And the people on the panel said it's because the what do you call that, Keon? The learning curve is far simpler, and it only is going to get simpler for AI. That's the biggest difference. And I think they're right. I think that was like such a because I for me I was just like I understood it right away. Right. It probably took me a long time, a lot longer because I started much earlier, but I do realize that AI has a mass advantage when it comes to people understanding the technology far simpler than Bitcoin. And you kind of see it time and time again.
I don't think people understand AI, but it's easy to use. I think,
That's what I mean.
yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to use. It's easy to get your hands on the technology and then use it. So it's just interesting. There's just a lot of misinformation out there, and I feel like it's only gotten worse with the tether and the all the ETFs and treasuries and all that kind of stuff. Jenna, you got any thoughts on this?
Um, I kind of feel like also what you're describing of like why isn't Bitcoin kind of like looked at? When is Bitcoin going to be getting like its second look
Yeah.
from kind of people who are like in the space and now and really in the space of AI? Um, So I guess we'll see, but I'm not like super worried about it, but it's kind of something to like think about and be like, what's missing, or I don't know. That's it.
Yep.
Car, did you have a response to the question you asked, or Jana's answer to the question you asked her?
No, I was just curious if she had any thoughts on it.
Do you?
I shared. Oh, do I have thoughts on what Car said? Which
Or just about the whole thing in general. I'm just sharing my thoughts because Stacker.News Live.
I think you're right that Bitcoin and Web3 stuff is harder to use than AI. Like AI is like the technology itself exists.
Oh, I didn't say that. That was like their panel that said that. That was just an observation I brought to the table.
Yeah. I think AI exists to make things easier. And Bitcoin and Web3 exists to, well, I don't want to say anything about Web3, but Bitcoin exists to get around laws in certain jurisdictions, or rules or onerous processes in certain jurisdictions that would impede someone's ability to participate in the economy, which Den said earlier was our main coordination mechanism at scale. And that doesn't imply that it's easy. And there's like, that's not a fundamental feature of it.
Well, that is true. And that's also like part of the cultural reaction to it that you can anticipate what happen is because like AI slop, like even in like that as a term is like you don't have to use your brain when you're using AI.
Yeah. You get to pretend. Yeah.
So yeah, so
you
there
thought and you haven't.
So there was like this whole AI thing, and they were talking about it with creatives and AI, and a lot of them were musicians, and even they didn't even know that like you could use Wavelake or Fountain or any of this stuff existed, and you know, and I was telling Austin, like I think they're almost there. They're like it's like they understand it, but they're like one COVID away from really understanding that the money's broken. And I think we're close. There's definitely like I think here in Austin, at least in Austin, like Web3 lost. And I think everybody knows Web3 lost. Everybody know Bitcoin is a thing in Austin now. So that's great. We won. But I do think they don't know that the money's broken, but they're close. Like I was telling you earlier this week, but we're like close. They're like almost there because but this like they're just like one step removed from it, and I don't know what's going to take them there. Maybe something catastrophic, or maybe hopefully not.
But I don't think you can expect every person to come to the same conclusion that you have come to.
That's fair, but these are supposed to be the smartest people, right? That they're gathering on panels and stuff. So to me they seemed like they knew what they were talking about. To me they seemed that they were close to getting to the answers, at least on that stage. And to me they almost seemed like they were getting it, but
they don't have a reason to get it yet.
Exactly.
That's what we need. I was talking to Ted the Fed, or Space Ted. He's Space Force Ted now. I'm just kidding. I was talking to Ted about my brother-in-law and how he seemed to he really got interested in Bitcoin when I invited him to a Bitcoin conference.
Oh wow!
And he had reason to start learning about Bitcoin because he didn't want to come and be ignorant. And so even though before I had I kind of warmed him up to it, he was never really sold on it. But then I was like, hey, come hang out with Bitcoiners. He's like, man, I better learn about Bitcoin to be able to do this successfully and not be
he didn't want to be
totally ignorant. And then he got really into it. Like he had reason to go a little deep enough in it where the tide.
So it was like
away.
when shit hit the fan. Pedal to the floor, to the metal.
Well, yeah, it's just you need reason to have to spend the quite enormous amount of time relative to most things, the most time that people dedicate to things.
So they do need a catalyst effect, like some sort of cataclysm.
No, I'm not. I don't watch enough Alex Jones to feel like
when you said one COVID away, I think that's
was being dramatic for the.
But I kind of think that's true. Like I think it happened for a lot of people because COVID gave them a reason.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of people that. Yeah,
me included for sure.
Yeah, I do think, but it's mostly a lack of motivation and not so much a lack of bad things happening. And so there might be a positive way to get more people to recognize Bitcoin's promise without bad things happening, but
I hope
it's a lot
so.
easier to imagine bad things happening.
Cool. Good talk.